How about that?
I like it. I like the countdown.
Right.
Yeah.
You press some extra buttons on these software, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's actually, I think some of these got the thumbs up button now. Actually,
hey, just to kind of clarify for everybody, Scott's the genius behind the technology on this side, right? He just makes it work. Look at this. Oh my gosh, laser light show.
I found that the other day. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, who needs this stuff? Anyway, so how's the sound, lighting? We're all good?
Yeah, man, you look good. You look good.
How you doing, Mike?
Good. Another busy week, right? Kind of behind us as we kind of step in midweek to have our Take a Knee discussion here. And again, for the audience, Stephen or Scott and I talked about this last week, right? We did these things, Take a Knee Tuesday, and that title has just seemed to kind of carry over.
I meant to change that.
We're here on Wednesday, right? So, maybe it's just Take a Knee or something like that. And that'll cover us any day we want to do it, right?
Yeah, my bad. I meant to change that.
No, it's all good, right?
You know why? I forgot. I'm still smoked. I ran the half marathon on.
Did you really? Did
Sunday.
You run it?
On Saturday, I was like, oh, there's a half marathon on Sunday. Well, let's see if I can do it.
Holy cow! Good for you, man. How'd you do? You feel good about it? Was it?
Well, I survived.
You're still alive. There you go.
I survived, but I was like, okay, yeah, I got to put some more road time in before I do long distances. But the CrossFit does help for sure.
Excellent.
But well, cool, man. Well, so topic today was inspired. I got my swag on today, ring knocker, yada yada. But I was on a call last night for my class. We had our 20-year reunion a couple years ago, and kind of re-engage things. And as we deal with the Association of Graduates and various networking groups, like everybody's got resources, and obviously, whether you're part of a service academy or a veteran, like we're all in these same groups and in every little networking niche you lap onto. So I think this was a kind of first of its kind, at least in my class, specific, just to do a little brief. And one of my classmates, Amon Hill, is our career services manager at AOG. And so he was just kind of, going through all their lists and hitting on some, tips. And one of the questions that came up from our classmate was, what are our resources if I'm getting out, I really want to kind of change careers, or I didn't find the right fit when I first got out, or I just simply, and this is what we hear often, don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Sure.
And that's fine. I was there for 10 years. I mean, honestly, before I even kind of gave myself permission to really, figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. I didn't even know I was allowed to. I thought, I was kind of, I was used to following orders. And
there you go.
And that's understandable. And so to caveat on that, what he was saying is, hey, most of our, people come into their group, the West Point Association, that particular, most of folks coming there are either JMOs getting out after their 5 years or so. And so they go through the SAC, and there's a whole separate network for that. Or there are people that have had 3 to 5 jobs already, and they kind of have an idea what they want. They just need the connections and the resources, work on the resume. You know somebody here to kind of take the step up the career ladder. But what you and I run into more often is there's people right in the middle of the thick of it. A lot of decisions going on, a lot of things going on. And it's really hard to tackle, this question. And some people put it off, take that first job and let it kind of manifest. But for those who are like, hey, I want to tackle this question right now. I thought you and I could, have, we've got our own experiences, of course, but I know you've had, just so many members go through your group, and this is the first part of the, one of the first parts of the process of finding the right fit. And we can talk about personality tests and that stuff a little bit. I got, some websites here pulled up. We can show what they look like. But, Mike, that I think that's a theme we hear a lot. It's completely understandable. It's very daunting. Many people just don't worry about it and kind of say, hey, what's my next duty station, so to speak? and that's fine too. But I think the people who kind of get stuck in the middle and get pulled both directions and they really struggle, and that can kind of lead to just unhappiness or never really always wondering. Let's put it that way. So uh,
No, it's
that
I
becomes important to tackle.
yeah. I know you chatted with him on, and right, I've got a phone call with him after this podcast as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it's just random.
Yeah, so kind of random. So I get a chance to chat with him. But I love the way you kind of broke the groupings up, right? I mean, and I'll just riff on that just a little bit. You've got that first tour, first off ramp grouping, right? Those maybe O3s, junior O4s that are kind of stepping out. And I think what we see in a lot of our academies, right, and we're doing some work with the Naval Academy as well too, is that the SAC, right, that's really set up for those individuals to kind of pursue. But then you said you've got this other middle group that have been out for a while that have kind of maybe stepped in, stepped out, stepped in, stepped out of opportunities. But then you've got that other group, right, that very senior group, which is kind of more representative of our membership here at Blue Water. And I think what some of the academies are trying to figure out a way how to support them a little bit better. These are the individuals that have been in for 25, 30, 33, 35 years, and then they step out. Now what, right? I mean, really have been that nth degree of institutionalized in service, right? Man, what do I want to do when I grow up? So many things come to mind, Scott, right? I mean, if you are a data analytics person, right, and you and I dabble in a little bit of that, if you look at any number of the surveys or organizations that track this stuff, there are organizations and analytics out there that will tell you almost 50%, right? All services, all ranks. Okay, so that's the grouping breakdown. All services, all ranks. Almost 50% of that grouping will stay less than 12 months at their first, transition pursuit, right? But what I find interesting, and if you tease out that data set a little bit, what I find more interesting is why these individuals are leaving, right? And it's obviously centered around fit. We're so used to having a set of orders, right? Your term, right? We follow orders. Somebody's going to give me orders, and here's where I'm going. And we get nervous because I typically have lived a life where, I had orders 5 months, 6 months, 7 months in advance. I kind of knew what my next thing was going to be. And now here I am 30 days prior and I don't have a job offer. And so the first thing that pops up, I just take it, right? We're all A-type personalities. When I drive it, I just take this opportunity and step in and I go, whew, I got something, right? Or maybe I find when I step into the thing, I chose so quickly. I thought the job was going to be this, but in execution, it's something completely different, right? And there's a couple of other things that kind of drive, this turnover, if you will, or short stay. And we don't see that with Blue Water with our members. We track their successes. We have had individuals step in and stay less than 12 months. But, on average, I would say the demographic that I just explained to you there, right, we're only 2 or 3%, right? Most of our individuals, they find a good fit and they pursue it. So what's different about our approach, right? And I think for the listeners out there, I never, ever, ever am concerned about our membership finding employment. Right. I mean, I'll just tell everybody we have a 100% success rate. If you want a job and you want to find something to occupy your time and meaningful work and contributions, 100% of the time we're going to find something for you, right? And we're going to navigate with you to that next success. But what we do spend a lot of time talking to our members about, going, hey, look, this is a sequential approach, right? This isn't just something that you can blow off. And typically members who spend a lot of time in service, we undervalue the need to have a design plan, right? Design thinking, a design thinking approach to your transition, to your next step. We undervalue that. We undervalue doing the market analysis and trying to have conversations to assess good fits. And we'll talk about how to do that here as we get into the conversation. But we typically undervalue that. And we've learned over the years that we undervalue those things because typically they have been done for us, right? I mean, if you think about it, typically, we've all had monitors or detailers or placement officers, community managers, right? A lot of that has been being done for us. So we typically don't value those steps. And if you skip over those steps, you find yourself in the bucket where you're choosing something very quickly, you step into it, and ooh, hey, this isn't what I thought it was, or this is a poor fit, and now I'm going to step back out. And we tell our members, it's like, look, I can't guarantee that what it is that you choose and pursue is going to be the best fit, but make no mistake about it, that's the goal, right? And I think our approach and how we walk members through a qualitative and quantitative assessment of these opportunities help them to assess that fit for them, and we're seeing success with that as members pursue that. So hopefully that makes sense, and that kind of opens the door for a deeper discussion on it. So.
Well, yeah, actually, you had a comment there about not having a career manager anymore. Yeah. And we get used to that, and sure, you get to have your choices, and you've done your career specialties and stuff, so you get to navigate that a little bit. And I know you don't lean into this too much through Blue Water, but obviously there's lots of job finding / recruiting services, headhunter, and there's a lot of value in that, obviously, to have, they got the connections and stuff. That's kind of the whole point. But is some of this fit being kind of outsourced again, kind of to the career manager type of approach, and just something to be cautious of versus just
Agreed.
kind of just straight up outsourced? I mean, when you say the word design versus, we don't do design in the military, we do decision making or SOPs, right?
Yeah.
It already exists. We've got a framework, and then that's really what I like to look at military retirement or military transition is. That's why I don't like the words military transition process. Transition connotates change, it's fear, it's uncertainty, process.
Could not agree more. Language means something, and that's really at the heart of Blue Water. We don't talk about transition assistance, right? This is all about career progression. And there may be, the audience out there is like, okay, Mike, it's the same thing. Well, words mean something, right? In this, like, to your point, I don't want to change you into anything else, and I want to build upon the greatness of what you bring to the table already, right? I'm not looking to leave anything behind. We're just going to progress you to your next success in life. And I think the language means something.
Yeah, and that's because there's, language, obviously, I kind of think the world's like designed by language. It's right in the words. I mean, spelling, cast spells, it's kind of fun when you think about it that way. And so, your words, your thoughts create, your words create your thoughts create your reality type of approach. But when we're coming out of the military, we're told to translate our military skills. You've got leadership skills, organizational skills. Maybe you're a data. Hey, I love being analytical and being a decision maker. Sure, but what are the other assets that you're actually bringing to the table? Like what are you? What's your network? I mean, just your network outside of the military. Like, what if you have connections, old family connections? Like, we can, what were your talents when you were younger? And I think that's where doing these personality tests, sometimes they can be a little hokey because, it'll come back and, define some things about you. So you got to learn how to interpretate them in a way. But at the same time, maybe it reminds you of something or sparks something, or at least gives you, maybe you don't even lean into it, but just some sort of structure. So as you're out there networking, searching, you go, oh yeah, my personality test, to have something to align to. If you're really if your only alignment is my military job was this, my MOS was this, what are some with personality tests, maybe what are some other ways to kind of, branch out in that way of thinking, of opportunity?
It's a great way to approach this. And you just made me think back. And I know the Navy does this. I'm sure other services do this. And when I left the Navy, and I can't remember the number on the form, it was a DD form, something, right? And basically, it listed all of my jobs that I had while I was active duty.
Yeah.
And then in the other column, it lists the skill sets that I should have used in those jobs. And then in the far right column, it said, this is a perfect fit for high school guidance counselor, a college professor. Like it would give you jobs like out there, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I did all this, and now this is what I need to pursue. And it was really a limiting approach, right? Especially for the pedigree of our membership, right? And our members coming through. The fact of the matter is, I'm not interested in having that conversation. I keep coming back to following orders. Like I don't need a form that's going to tell me, I was an air wing commander. I was a squadron commander, right? I was a chief of staff at this organization. Therefore, you can be a football coach at some community college. I don't want a form like that.
That's like no shit.
Yeah, that's not valuable to me. Rather, I have the conversation with our members. I want to work this the other way around. I'm just going to tell you right now, there's nothing you can't do. Some pursuits will require you to build a longer networking bridge and spend more time than others, right? That's really the only difference that we're talking about. So we've had members approach Blue Water and said, hey, Mike, I'm always curious, right? Could I go to corporate America? Could I thrive and succeed there, right? And I'm interested in pursuing a company like, I don't know, Johnson & Johnson, or I want to look at Amazon, or I want to look at Microsoft, or I want to look at Adobe, or you fill in the blank, right? Or, hey, I want to give back to the warfighter, but I don't want to be in a big defense industry. And, I'm more interested in kind of making contributions through small government contracting firm, whatever it happens to be, right? You start to kind of narrow the scope of what it is that you want to do. Now, specifically, when we talk about, members, and again, I won't get into the, formerly the title of this discussion was strategy development, and people's eyes kind of roll up in the back of their head. And so Dave Wadelick, who's a member with Blue Water here, we came together and he said, hey, let's really get at the heart of what we're talking about here. It's not necessarily a strategy, but I want you to approach your career progression. I want you to design it, right? It's a design thinking mentality. I'm interested in preserving these things in my life, so I'm going to know what these things are. And I'm interested in, navigating a pursuit in something that looks like this, right? And once you get your design out there, right, then you step into what's called your market analysis. And that's really at the heart of the discussion that we're talking right now. Our market analysis is where you're coming across these opportunities and how you assess them on whether or not they're a good fit. And, just to expedite the conversation, as you step into your career progression, you remember you're going to come across these opportunities. Maybe Blue Water is going to make you aware of opportunity. Maybe you're going to see something on LinkedIn. Maybe you're going to be on a family vacation. You're going to be talking to your uncle and he says, hey, I know somebody that worked at the Ford Motor Plant and they've got an opportunity. However it is that you come across these opportunities, we espouse our members to assess those opportunities through two lenses, and don't overthink it, but just a couple of lenses. And the first lens is a qualitative lens, right? I want you to assess this opportunity, by its quality, right? And not necessarily just the quality attributes of the opportunity itself, but I'm more interested in you teasing out what people think about this opportunity, what they think, does it resonate with them? Do they think it's a quality, what do they think about you fulfilling a particular role in a company like this, right? And you want to extract that feedback. And a lot of times our members will kind of poke us in the eye a little bit and they'll say, hey, look, I'm the one who's got to get the job. I don't really care what people close to me in my inner circle think. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a little pushback on that, right? I'm going to say, hey, you still have more than 51% of the vote. You can choose to do it or not. But I absolutely think you want to extract this feedback, right, from people in your inner circle or outer circle. And you already know the answer to this. But for the listeners today, why do we have people do that? And the answer is often, not always, but often, it's that inner circle or outer circle that gives you the honest broker feedback, right? In other words, that you may or may not want to hear, right? You may be driving yourself towards an opportunity for lots of different reasons, and somebody's going to come back and say, are you kidding me? You told me that you would rather hang yourself than work in a cubicle all day, and now you're going to pursue this job where you're sitting in a cubicle all day? Like, I don't get it. I've known you for a long time. That's just something that you've always been vocal on and you didn't want to do it. So, that's what we say when we want you to assess these opportunities qualitatively, right? And the next lens that we want members to assess these opportunities is a quantitative lens. In other words, I want you to deep dive the opportunity that you're looking at. Think about this like as a college book report, right? You're deep diving you're writing some term paper, is the environment healthy? How's the company make money? How has it generated its revenue? How did it get started, right? What mergers and acquisitions did it have along the way? What's the current press picture look on the company? Are they hiring? Are they in a hiring freeze, right? What challenges do they have on the horizon? In other words, what's the environment look like, right? And again, sometimes, members who have spent their life in service, right, they undervalue the importance of these lens assessments. And in particular, we've always just put trust and confidence into people. If somebody gives you a set of orders, you just show up at this unit and you walk in the door and you go, I'm here to serve and let's get going. A lot of that has already been done. The environment is what it is, right? Nobody's doing that for you on the outside. You have to do your own homework. A real world example. And again, don't misread me. I love the company Boeing. Boeing is a great company. America, needs a strong Boeing. We absolutely do. But the country or the company, I think, over the last number of years has gone through some challenges, right? And we have seen a little bit on the Blue Water side that some of the hiring has kind of slowed down a little bit, and there's a lot of churn kind of apparently going on in the company. And so that's an important thing for members to be aware of. If you came out and you said, it's been my lifelong dream, I want to go to work for Boeing, we're like, okay, you probably need to take a hard look at this, right? Are they actually hiring? Is the company on a hiring freeze right now? I don't know, but these would be examples of things that you would want to deep dive quantitatively, right, if you will, and to get up to speed. So just those two lenses, and we don't want to overthink it, right? But if you just do those two efforts in things that you're coming across, right, that'll give you a much better understanding. And so I'll hold my next thought as I want to segue to networking, and that'll be the next discussion. But I see you nodding. Did that make sense? Did that resonate?
No, absolutely. I mean, again, the idea here is when you're doing design, instead of having SOPs, just having frameworks. So you're talking about
Exactly.
qualitative, quantitative. It just gives us, as we're out there networking, you're gonna have so much new information. It's going to be, insane, when you think about it. So just having something to fall back to so that you're more awareness, it's just simply, oh yeah, I gotta, you might not remember to ask it, but you might notice it in a conversation, that kind of a approach. And that's just over time, you're going to learn more. And really, this is a talent stack. You're learning how to, find a job. That is the job is to find a job, so to speak. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, and so that, that's where, networking comes in. This came up on the call again last night, that the biggest problem people have is, a little bit of a imposter syndrome, or afraid to ask, or, don't want to intrude, that type of approach.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's understandable as well. But we got to also remember, in our community, we're lucky. We kind of got a leg up. 7 out of 10 people will happily respond and give your insights. It's
Absolutely.
probably just a matter of, being a little bit more strategic in how you are reaching out to people, whether it's to say, oh, I'm curious of working at this particular institution, or maybe you generally more from a kind of a mentorship perspective could just say, hey, I'm looking to build my network. I'm getting out. I'm just curious of, whatever it is you went through. Are you open to a mentorship conversation? And there are even, programs out there like Veterati. I don't know if you heard of Veterati. That's probably meant for more, junior folks as well. I don't know if it really exists in the senior space. So, even mentor is kind of the wrong word when we're talking about, the senior retirees, of course. But in some ways, you just got to have that kind of open dialogue conversation with a lot of people from a perspective of just pure curiosity. Like, what are the opportunities out there? Like, what are some challenges people went through? It's like, we've all gone through them. We've all got stories to tell. A lot of us like to tell them. Some do a podcast about it, but I think that's an approach I find useful.
No, I think so. I mean, and after 3.5 years now, when members walk through the door, some of the analytics that we're able to tease out are helpful to members. For example, if somebody was to walk through the door today and they would say, hey, Mike, of all the individuals that same rank, same tenure, same senior, same everything as me in the last 3.5 years, how many people have stepped through the door and been through the program, and where are they? And we're developing some keen insight right now that I can go into the database and we can filter that down, and I could say, okay, here's a sample set of, let's just say 200 individuals that look just like you. And as we look at it, I can say 29% of this grouping is pursuing major defense industry. Think like a Lockheed Martin, a Northrop Grumman, a Boeing, right? And they've landed there. Then I can also say 31% of that grouping is pursuing government contracting. Think like, smaller, firms, not major, but still in the defense industry space. But then I can get out there and say 40% of that group is pursuing the other bucket. And they go, well, what is the other bucket? And I go, it's everything not defense or government contracting related. Like, this is the corporate world. This is private equity. This is airlines. This is like everything else out here. And furthermore, if you want to drill down into that set of 200, you can say, well, what companies are they at? Right. And so just from a comparative, we're all human beings. We just kind of want to know, what are people pursuing and where are they landing? And we can absolutely depict that. And we can even take it a step further to your point. Let's talk on the networking side. Great, Mike, I'm designing. Here's the big rocks in my life. I don't want to move. I want to make this much money, and I want to give stability to the family. And these are the kind of things that I want to preserve. And so I've got some opportunities. You're assessing qualitatively and quantitatively, right? Okay, I'm looking at this. Hey, Mike, I'm interested in companies that kind of look like this. Do we have anybody in the Blue Water Network that's at those companies? Well, yes, we do. Now you start having conversations with people. To your point, right? It's incredibly valuable. And it's more than just, you know as well as I do, right? It's, there's some strategy and engagement here, right? You don't want to show up and just ask for a job, right? Hey, I want to come to work for you, hire me, right? You've got to tease this out a little bit, and you design these list of questions, right? And they're really, essay building type kind of questions, if you will. Hey, tell me about what's a great part of your job. Tell me about what you enjoy most about it. Tell me about some of the larger challenges you're dealing with. Tell me about what the company's 5-year strategy looks like, right? As you start to kind of build your situational awareness about what's going on, right, out in the company. So those are important things, and approaches, and certainly networking is a big part of that. And that's what we can help bring to the table, because those conversations, Scott, you already know this, right? It's so valuable, right? It's so valuable, not only for individuals who are in pursuit of their next success to understand what it is they may want to go do, but also to expand your network. Because at the end of the day, and you know as well as I do, right? It's not just about networking. It's all about networking, right? You're going to have these invaluable conversations with people, and that's going to be what drives and opens the door to your next success ultimately. So,
Yeah, and part of having conversations with people, I found, for me personally, is getting more confident with yourself and what you can talk about, who you are, what your stories are. So, just lost you.
I'm coming back.
No worries. But it's a good opportunity to bring up the website I wanted to share. So, in the last couple minutes here, I thought this would be fun just to talk about some of these tools, kind of like we talked about the resume tool, to go through and look at stuff like, hey, we've got technology, and this is one way, and this is the Clifton Strengths Finder report. Have you ever heard of that?
There's so many of them out there.
I know military usually hear Myers-Briggs.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done one of these in a long time. This is mine, for what it's worth. I just want to kind of show, a back end of what this stuff looks like. But, for me,
right? I mean, self-introspection, right? I mean, this is,
exactly. It's fun because I'm in a networking group called 10X Vets, and we get together and in these group calls, do like workshop type stuff. And so this is one of the things they do. That's why I ended up taking this. And it's fun to hear other people in the group, like they might have 5 blocks over here and they execute. Right. I've only got one. Like I'm more of the, idea guy and, connecting people for opportunities that, that kind of stuff. Rather than, being risk averse, I'm more of, go figure out what the next big thing is. And so, but that's good for some things, but not good for others, but it can complement other things. So when you're thinking about, especially some of these smaller companies, a lot of times, maybe their job description isn't as specific. They need more of a type of a person, and so the better you can come in, kind of with this stuff. But anyways, just want to get your kind of initial thoughts on these various tools.
I love them. Like, and you're absolutely spot on. There's a number of them that are out there. I recently took one. In fact, after this, I'll share it with you. It's, much like our relationship between Blue Water and U.S. Vet Well, Scott, you and I have been tied at the hip for a long time on this, and we value your insight in lots of different areas and regards, but you're a huge part of bringing that knowledge on survivor benefit plan through savings plan, a lot of this, financial, building war chest, et cetera, that approach. And we don't mainstream talk about that, but what this personality assessment is driving me to think of. I recently had a conversation with, and maybe Sarah's listening today, Sarah Cummins, right? And really excited to explore, Sarah. She's very successful in her pursuit as a leadership mentor, a counselor, right? She's certified in a number of these things, executive coaching, some of these kind of things, very in tune with organizing, not only your physical environment, but I think your mental environment as well, too. And Sarah, if you're listening, please forgive me. I'm probably doing a horrible job explaining all this, but we're interested in building that relationship, with Sarah and bringing some of that expertise in alignment, much like the relationship that you and I have, Scott, with US Vet Well, because a lot of our members do, right, approach and would benefit from a lot of this insight. But I think introspection and I think personality assessments are key. And that's really kind of in line with, the lenses we talked about. If you think about the qualitative lens is all about coming across some opportunity. But before you just try to make up your own mind whether you want to step into this, I want you to share it with those trusted agents around you. right? And I want you to seek their feedback, because I think that's valuable insight, whether or not you act on it or not, right? That's still your decision, but we think that that's absolutely time well spent. And you want to understand, hey, Scott, I came across this job. What do you think about me doing this? And you go, Mike, I think that's a horrible idea. I've known you for 10 years, and you said everything about what you're telling me you want to pursue that you said you never would, and you hated that. So why all of a sudden are you doing this now, right?
Yeah.
Out of desperation, or you just need a job? What's the deal, right? You want that feedback. And now whether or not you act on it or not, that's up to you. But we still think there's value in that feedback. Hey, let me make just one quick point. And I think I'm talking too much. So if I talk too much, Scott, you got to reel me in here. But let me make one other just quick
point.
It's
your face on the thumbnail.
So, here's the interesting thing, our membership, almost, if I could stereotypically describe them, they're A-type personalities. They're action oriented. Man, they just want to get it done. Let's move out. Like, hey, yep, here's my next thing. Get it to me and let me get going on. And we try to just slow that thought process down a little bit, right? No fast hands in the cockpit. Old analogy, right? If you're flying around and the plane that you're, sitting in there all of a sudden catches on fire, probably not a time to get really quick with a lot of things. I just want you to take 4 or 5 seconds and just go, okay, what's really happening here? And then start taking the appropriate action, right? That we
Sure.
wind the clock. That's kind of dating myself on an old, thing. But anyway, if the tendency is for our membership to jump right into this, and the point we make them is to them is, don't do that, right? Here's some steps. I want you to design your plan. I want you to do your market analysis, and then I want you to target what it is you're looking at, and then let's build the bridge to get there, right? If members skip these steps, there is a forcing function in life. I already know you're going to be forced to do these things. We don't talk about these things just to talk about them. If you jump right in and take a job and it's a horrible fit, you will not stay. You will leave, and you will thrust yourself right back to where you were when you took that job. And I'm going to look you in the eye and I say, it was not a good fit. You chose poorly because you didn't do these steps, right? And it's not like you have to drop anchor in this world and spend an exorbitant amount of time here, but you need to sequentially go through this. What's your design? What are the things you want to preserve in life? Right. And
yeah, I think that's why this is valuable.
Market analysis and do this. And if you skip this, life has a way of saying, okay, it's a do-over, and it'll bring you right back. Or you're likely to spend a lot of time in a role and responsibility that is not a good fit. And reviewing your personality traits and understanding what you're susceptible to, right? And what you may fall prey to, right? That's important to know that, right? And this introspection, I think, is a valuable part of that. So I love that you teed up this chart, and I think that's a good thing for members to reflect, because I think you're right. Most leadership, right? Myers-Briggs is a big one, right? They understand those kind of things, and
yeah, for me,
Cummings is going to bring to the table too. I mean, bring her on board and figure out how we can align and do things more together. And she has great insight on how you can self-sabotage by any number of things and not really be fully aware of it, right? And just raise all that to a higher level of consciousness to avoid those kind of things. So
yeah, no, executive coaching, I've gone through coaching, definitely through entrepreneurship, because you don't know what you don't know. And when it comes to, like, I thought, I was an Army officer. I had been a platoon leader. Therefore, I was supposed to be good at these things. And clearly, that's more of an, Army officer, an executing role. It's like, I stumbled through West Point. I don't know how, but, I always kind of knew I didn't fit in exactly, but sure, we're in the military. We can pull it off. But when I came out, it was years of, going through coaching and stuff. and probably lots of personality tests, where, I started to lean into more what I was good at. And, that seemed risky for me because I was going against the grain, but I was clearly more following what was a better fit for me. We'll see how it goes. That's always how it's going to be, though. We never know how things are going to go. But I have less fear now, in at least inside, from a success standpoint, I don't have those measurements anymore,
Right.
of what things are supposed to look like. I don't care about that anymore. I'm just trying to fit, what happens to be best for me. For me, it's more entrepreneurship. For others, it might be, serving a great role in an organization. But wouldn't it be better to know? Versus what I did is I was in an organization for almost a decade going, I don't feel, I feel loyal to this just because I'm supposed to be loyal to an organization.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't the military. I don't need to be loyal to anybody. I need to figure out what loyalty is to me. But no, awesome, Mike. No, I think it was a good discussion for today. What's anything new you want to announce?
Wow. I think we chatted about it last week, right? Anybody thinking about stepping into a cohort, right? You've got to lead turn it a little bit. You can jump onto the website on our scheduling page at bluewater-advisors.com, and you can tee that up. But we are full up, Scott. In April, we're full up in May. We just posted June about a week and a half ago. We are half full right now in June. We are approaching half full in July. August has us back out to Tailhook, right? Where we'll make ourselves available out there to do some networking out there for the team. And then September is completely full as we're up at the Naval Academy on behalf of the Naval Academy Alumni Association, teaching a cohort up there in the Flugel Center. We're really excited about that. And we're even taking registrations in our October cohort, which is back up in Washington, D.C. We're in D.C. in April as well, too. So I just want to continue to give a huge shout out to Booz Allen Hamilton, right? We have aligned with that company. They're being very gracious. They allow us to instruct in a lot of their corporate facilities, right? So certainly here at the Norfolk office, and then when we head up to DC at the M Street office up there is where Steve Weeman and myself and the team will set up shop, and we'll do our April 24th cohort up there in their offices. So we're really excited about some of these changes that are coming online. Maybe late breaking. I don't think we talked about it last week. We've been approached by a lot of leadership down in Pensacola. We're working very hard to try to figure out a means to get back down to Pensacola again. We know there's individuals down there that want us to come back down. So, we're doing our best to reach out to companies that may be able to assist in a sponsorship to get us back down there. We've already written our 2024 schedule, and we have wonderful corporate partners in TAC Air and Two Circle and Check Six, and they're very generous, and those fundings allow us to execute our cohort schedule that we've already put in motion at the start of the year. So when pop-ups like Pensacola come to us, you're left with the decision. Either you find additional sponsorship to cover the cost of getting us down there, or you have to cancel an event and reallocate funds. And we don't want to cancel anything on the schedule this year. We're going to leave that as is. But we're reaching out to Navy Federal, to USAA. Phone call I had yesterday, KPMG may be looking for some military affiliation. So we're really looking to industry out there. They are a strong beneficiary of the pedigree of individuals that we're putting through our program. So it really is an environment where everybody wins, right? Not that we would ever strong arm any of our members to go to any of these companies, but we certainly make it available. And it certainly is, if it is a desire of theirs, we have great insight and leadership immediately available to talk to them about, help them assess if this is a good fit or not, right? So we're really excited about a lot of that, Scott. And man, we're happy to, at our continued relationship at US Vet Wealth, you guys do fantastic stuff over there. And so thank you for being a great partner and helping in a lot of these regards and all the things that you kind of do with us. We love it. So how about you? What's going on with you and the Vet Wealth team?
No, love it as well. Because like we say, we are serving the same people. I've got things that your people need and vice versa. But I've got something cool coming up. I've been asked to go do retirement informational workshops for Bunker Labs cohorts around the country. So that's been a long time in the works, but we're kind of working out dates right now.
Okay.
I'm going to be going to Vegas, looks like Seattle, Chicago, DC.
Wow, you got some travel coming up. That's great.
Yeah, I know. So that, that'll be fun. Get that information out there. But people happen to be in those cities, I'd love to do a little, get together, have a coffee or something.
Absolutely.
Time. But other than that, got work on our new website, our members area. It's all free to join. Got our books to download. Got the SBP book is usually what folks are focused on first, for just to knock out that decision around survival. We get the reason we have these discussions is priority is getting the job, finding your fit and stuff, and then something like oh gosh, what do I do about this SBP decision? This is a huge, and it seems very complicated, and it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. But so put the content out there. It's an hour, 2-hour read to give you the framework for if you're someone who, usually if you're having that question around SBP, it's because you're kind of like, hey, I don't think I like this. Like if you think it's a good fit for you, good. But if you are trying to make that decision, there's a way to do it pretty quickly. That way you can feel more confident, whichever way you go.
Scott, you do a great job, and that's a great service for members out there, right? And I'm thankful you do it because I'm not well versed in that, right? And I know you've put, large number of years, right? 10, 15 years into this. You have a great insight.
I had to align, like I always joke, like I don't want to be the life insurance guy, but that was the industry I stumbled into. So I had to align, the fit with the source of income, right? It's like sometimes you can't control all the things, but it is still a free world. So it's like there's different ways to be a life insurance salesman, and so I thought, hey, well, if I can focus on just solving problems, yes, at the end of the day, that's how I monetize. If people don't like the SBP and they like our solution better, great, happy to help you out. Works out, for everybody. And that's just our business model. That's essentially the job I created I just happened to create it for myself.
No, it's a great fit and it's a great service. We've had a lot of members, plug in with you. And like I said, trusted agent, we're appreciative that you're available online with us to kind of do this stuff. So,
and it fits my personality test better.
Yeah. Hey, and I did forget, right? We're still tracking with our Blue Water Digital, right? So, we're still keeping that effort going. We just started our second sprint cycle. So Tom Marsden, the Marathon Consulting, the IT team located down here at Town Center, right? We are aligned with those guys, and they're doing some fantastic work for us. We are pedaling hard, right? Trying to make that a reality, even as we get into this year. So keep your fingers crossed, right? We are not a large company with unlimited funds, right? So programmers and smart guys that do this kind of stuff, it is expensive, right? But we are dedicated to turning this into a reality for our members, which is just going to give some amazing insight into the entire Blue Water network, landing reports, companies that we have insights into, where everybody's at, content that we can house there in a single source, right? Blog space for corporate partners to advertise openings just to our membership, right? So we're really excited about some of the things that we're building there. We hope to bring that on in whole or segments, right, as funds allow, later this year. So again, excited.
Good stuff, dude.
All right, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, we'll see everybody next week.
Love it.
Cool.
All right.
Take care.